Oh,
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever it is you're joining us from. Welcome today to the May 2023 edition of the Grayz Talk, focused on mental health with Dr. Motolani Oyerinde. Today, we would be talking about a very interesting subject. But before then, a quick introduction of myself. I'm Grayz Adejari, a certified business analyst, a management consultant, business developer, and a project management professional with about a decade experience managing projects, people, products, platforms to deliver value to internal and external stakeholders. Well, there are quite a lot of things that I've done over the years, and I've grown to taking a position as a C-suite manager, where I delivered on significant digital transformation projects. Becoming a C-suite manager for me and retaining that position was quite challenging, but I believed strongly that happy people are productive people. And this guided my working relationship between my internal team, my external stakeholders. And it's also the reason why I've been hosting the Grayz Talk since February 2023 to facilitate conversations that would help address burning challenges faced by young professionals, managers, and business owners. We should be fulfilled and have fun while we work. I'm sure you agree to that. We should also be productive and at peace while we work, and not just at work, but also outside work. And with this, I would just like to quickly share some quick guidelines with us. If you have any questions, please drop it in the chat icon. And also, please do ensure to share your feedback with us after this session. You can also share it with us on our YouTube channel, because a replay of this would also be on our YouTube channel. So let's get into the business of today so we can give quality time to our speaker for today to share insights with us. So why are we here today? The need to take our mental health serious cannot be overemphasized. Just like our physical health, our mental health is important because how we feel and think is central to the way we live our lives. It is essential to have conversations about mental health and, get more learning about it, because the demands placed on a person can sometimes exceed their resources and coping abilities, which can negatively affect their mental health. For example, if someone is working long hours, caring for a relative, or experiencing economic hardship, they may experience poor mental health. This is one of the reasons why the Mental Health Awareness Foundation decided to focus on the theme anxiety for the Mental Awareness Week 2023 in order to encourage conversations and experience sharing about anxiety and coping strategies. Thus, the Grayz Talk this month is focused on fostering these conversations, especially for young professionals who are constantly anxious, pressured, and overwhelmed. And on this note, I would want to invite our speaker. Our speaker today is Dr. Motolani Oyerinde. She is an award-winning medical doctor, a senior family health officer, and a mental health physician with about a decade experience. Over the years, she has facilitated health outreaches, health fairs, and corporate health programs. She has led missions in the corporate health space and continues to facilitate trainings and therapies as part of our contribution to ensuring an environment free of mental disorder. And on this note, please permit me to welcome our distinguished speaker for today, Mrs. Dr. Motolani Oyerinde. Over to you, sis.
thank you very much, my award-winning CEO, Mrs. Grayz Consult. It's a privilege to be invited to be a speaker on the Grayz Consult Network today. It's an honor to be here, and I say thank you for the warm the warm introduction. So, as we all know, this month of May is the Mental Awareness Month. We can also say it is the month where we focus more on maternal mental awareness. So whether we're talking about mental awareness of everyone or coning it down to maternal mental awareness, everyone joining this talk would learn one or two things. It's going to be quite interactive. I'll be talking from experience, generally sharing nuggets and various expose that would help anyone listening later or now to pick up one or two things they'll be able to learn from. We're not going to be using slides because if we use slides, we may be too rigid. We may not touch many areas. So that's why, I would give a very broad introduction of the mental health, some tips on anxiety and coping strategies, and some tips on maternal mental health prior to going into the question and answer sections or interactive section. So as I've been warmly introduced, I've been a medical doctor for about half a decade, and I've been in mental health advocacy, education, and therapy and treatment as a trained physician for about 3 to 4 years now. And my interest in mental health stemmed from, coincidentally, from an organization. From practicing as a medical doctor, I realized that many people had some funny symptoms that would only look psychological when you've given all medication. And that made me really find out that, oh, there was something that has to do with the brain health, or we call it mental health. So what do we even understand by mental health? Because yes, there's been a lot of, due to digital health and digital technology in the last, post-COVID and during COVID, many people have really come to be interested in mental health topics due to the alarming rates of anxieties during the COVID, depression, and loneliness or social isolation. And this has not ended because mental health, as it said, there is no health without mental health. So what is mental health? By a very simple definition, as I said, I'll be giving a broad introduction so we can pick one or two nuggets from this expose. What is mental health? Mental health is simply four things. That's what mental health is talking about. And I term it CRWC. CRWC. So that is my own code. It's simply the ability to cope with the normal stress of life. And this stress in life can be emotional, can be psychological, can be physical, can be financial, can be economical, can be work-related. Some are normal, some are not normal. And knowing the difference between what is normal stress and not normal, we'll touch it as we go down this broad introduction. Also, mental health, according to the World Health Organization, I'm using the code CRWC. R means the ability to realize your potential. As we all know, all of us have various gifts. We have talents in our various, as humans, we have special abilities unique to every individual. So your ability to realize your potential, it's another definition that we must know that contributes to your mental health. The ability to work productively, that's the W, also contributes to your mental health. That means for you to wake up, not tired, not discouraged, go to work and be productive at work, whether as an entrepreneur, whether as a part of an organization, or whether even in your personal life, working productively, because we're always in a mode of continuous work. Either we're doing some exams, international or local national exams, either we're planning to, specialize Either we're planning to, become more marketable. Even if it's just the daily learning, we are in one phase of work or the other. Our minds are working. We're making decisions every day. So working productively is broad. It's not just you are going to your office, no. So the ability to work productively has something to do with your mental health. Even for young people, the ability to read and understand is also work. And so it has something to do with your mental health. Then the last but not the least is the ability to contribute to society. That's the ability to have is to really, really, really discover your purpose in life, contribute to society, no matter how little, in little ways, just like this Grayz Consult is doing. Contributing to society is part of your mental health. Being part of some productive groups, whether in your church, whether in your association, whether in your club, these are all parts of your mental health. So I use 4 terminologies. We can put in the chat box if you heard me clearly. If you followed the code I gave about mental health, please put it in the chat box so I can be sure that we are all following. So when we now go to mental health has to do with so many things, and we must know that your mental health is a journey. It is not a destination. It's not a destination where you say, oh, I'm fine, there's nothing wrong with me, I'm okay. And why do we say it is not a destination, it's a journey? Because we are all within a spectrum. I'm sitting down talking to you now, and my CRWC, as some of us are putting it in the box, can be very okay now. But the moment one is affected, whether they see my ability to cope with stress, emotional, psychological, physical, financial, economic, marital, whatever form of stress is affected, whether my ability to realize my potential is affected, whether due to ill health or anything, whether my ability to work productively is affected, or my ability to contribute to society is affected, then I can develop a poor mental health. And when we say that mental health is very important, it is important because without your mental health, you can basically not function on a daily basis. Without your mind health, your mental health, your ability to be able to think, be able to make good judgments, be able to concentrate, be able to make decisions, be able to feel and take actions to drive your car down the road, take reasonable actions. All these are part of things that has to do with your mental health. And I'm trying to explain why we must guide our mental health by saying we are all in a spectrum. My ability to cope with stress is different from Dotun, Tolunimi, or Gracie's ability to cope with stress. We're all in a spectrum. If, for example, as I'm talking to you right now, I receive a news of the death of a loved one, you should know that something will drop in my mental health. I will shake on the spectrum. On that spectrum, we have those that are healthy, we have those that are struggling, we have those are that are trying to cope, and we have those that are actually very, very like weak, like poor mental health, that they are sick. They have mental ill health. So I can be healthy on the spectrum and get a news, and based on my genetics and environment, because our genetics, our environment, that's based on our life experiences, contributes to our mental health, our mind health. So my own ability to, cope, my own threshold may put me in coping or in struggling. And it may be for a period of time, depending on how I am able to find help or support. I may be able to move back into healthy, or I may even remain on a spectrum where I may be struggling for a long time. And that's why we keep explaining to people that mental health, there's no health without mental health. It's very important. So going back to the functions of your mind, or when we talk about mental health, we should know that, as I said earlier, we have the thinking, the feeling, the concentration, your ability to make decisions, or the right sound judgment on the daily basis, your ability to pay attention and be able to achieve whatever you do in achieving, your daily tasks. Your ability to take actions, your behaviors, all these stem from a stable mental health. And we do not take for granted those who may be struggling, who may be mentally ill, because based on our various genetics, our life experiences, we may actually be in different levels on the spectrum. And that's why any conversation around mental health, it's important because you and I, all of us on this platform, we're ambassadors, we're advocates. Somebody might just survive suicide because they spoke to you, and that's because you have been exposed to some information that can make you say, oh, please reach out to this person. Oh, please reach out to this, do this or that, and be able to tell the person the right things. So going now into the mental health awareness for women, because this is maternal mental health month, and knowing fully well that anything maternal is your daughter, your sister, your mother, your wife, your grandmother, anybody that is a woman. It's important that we know that many of the mental health concerns that affect women, on the top of the list is anxiety and depression. And we know that these are things that affect women because of various factors, such as our hormones. Our hormones, we don't have the same, there are many things we don't have equal with men. We don't have the same blood volume with men. We don't. We don't have the same muscle mass with the men. Theirs is bigger. We don't have the same hormones. On a monthly basis, many women go through what we call the menstrual cycle. And this menstrual cycle, the fluctuations in these hormones can predispose women, girls, from the age of, when they start menstruating at 9, between 9 to 13, can predispose them to various emotional disorders, one of which is what we call the premenstrual dysphoric disorders, where the symptoms come. Why I'm trying to just, touch some of these things is because when you see them, your daughters and your sisters and your friends, for example, somebody comes to work telling you that I have bad menstrual condition, and maybe you are the boss at work, and then you are like, what's there inside menstrual condition? Your body and this person's body is not the same. Your hormonal changes and this person's hormonal changes are not the same. Some women go through bloating, headaches when they are having this premenstrual dysphoric disorder, low moods, some are anxious, some are depressed. It comes with so much bodily changes in these women. Apart from those that have the menstrual pain, depending on the different hormonal changes in us. And that's why when I begin to talk about the coping and ways you can help people, we have to understand that we must first treat everyone as humans and try to be empathetic towards everyone. So that's one thing women can go through. And this example of the hormonal changes can cause various spots. That means highs and lows in anxiety, in depression, even from the age of 9, from young girls just starting their menstruation. So you see your cousin, your niece, your teenage daughter, or your, adolescent, or what do we call, yes, pre-adolescents, just withdraw into self. And you are wondering that, why is she like that? And maybe it's just, you need to think beyond the box. And that's why these conversations are important. She's having a new hormonal change. She may be going through the spots, the changes. Another thing we must note is the postpartum depression, which can happen to many women between the ages of the childbearing ages of 18 to 45, or in the north, they give birth as early as 13. So postpartum depression happens to many women, and it can start like baby blues. Every woman, when she has just put to bed, her body has gone through stress. Even from getting pregnant to the day she delivers, her body has gone through stress. Pregnancy itself is a state of stress. So a woman giving birth to a baby, most women are actually so tired, so fatigued. They need all the support. and the ability of that woman to survive baby blues and prevent postpartum depression. Many women, 99% of women will have baby blues because of the tiredness and fatigue after you just deliver that baby. But the difference between who develops postpartum depression and who doesn't develop it is based on the support system. And that's why we must be very empathetic, because we're all ambassadors. Every one of us on this platform, in this exposé we're having, we're all ambassadors. We are taking one or two things to help ourselves, to help everyone we know. And that's why mental health conversation is for everyone. The woman's ability to overcome or to prevent her from developing postpartum depression is based on what support system. If she gets home and she's able to sleep well, because you know you have to stay awake, breastfeed a newborn baby, depending on if she has someone to help her hold this baby, if she has support system, if she's sleeping well, she may not develop postpartum depression. But many women will develop postpartum depression because there's no support system. Most time they are the ones feeding the baby all night. There's nobody to hold the baby at intervals. They are unable to sleep after delivery because these are symptoms that will chronically lead to postpartum depression. Another thing that can happen is postpartum psychosis. Postpartum psychosis is not the depression where we have, but we'll still get to anxiety and depression, we're going gradually. So postpartum psychosis is where the woman's, the changes after delivery. The woman is so excited, and that excitement has turned to some form of elation that is abnormal due to these hormonal changes, poor sleep after delivery, and just excitement. The brain changes can occur where the woman now develops psychosis. So the difference between depression and psychosis, so I don't confuse you. Psychosis comes with a lot of things like hallucinations, the person is seeing things, delusions, the person is beginning to believe, you know, have unusual beliefs. That maybe you are telling the person that you just gave birth to a baby, and the person telling him that, no, begins to talk in ways that, there's something wrong. So there are changes in the person's mental state where the person is not sleeping, the person cannot concentrate. Everything just goes gaga when it comes to psychosis, and it can happen post-delivery for women. Depression is when I told you the woman can be predisposed to it because she's not sleeping, she's not having the right support, so she begins to feel sad, she begins to get fatigued and tired, she begins to be unable to eat, poor appetite, she has, low concentration, low mood, poor sleep. She begins to have those symptoms begin to come out to an extent that she now begins to feel hopeless and helpless. And then she can develop depression if she's not helped early enough, or if the partner is not able to notice these changes in time. And that's when it becomes the severe one where some women kill their children. So you've seen, I don't know if we've seen a case in the news where a woman killed her baby and said baby was disturbing her, or, those things are severe depression. In menopause, we can see depression due to these hormonal changes where in the past, people see some women begin to confess that they are witches. They stone them. This is a case of severe depression. These women are not witches. These women are having what we call delusion of guilt. And then they've had depression due to menopause to the extent that they begin to see themselves guilty for other people's misfortune, begin to confess to what is not true. And then the society stones them and say they are witches. Most of them have what we call severe depression with psychosis, even in menopause. Mental health is a concern to everyone, young and old. It can develop at any age. As I said, we're on a spectrum. It can happen due to life circumstances. So how do we cope with mental health? Before I go into anxiety and depression, how do we cope? The first thing you must understand is you must understand your nutrition. That means the place of health, your own being responsible, because you have to take ownership of your mental health. You have to ensure that you take ownership. Just the way you are responsible to yourself as an adult, whether at work, whether in your marriage, whether in the society, anywhere you are, you have to take ownership. And how do you take ownership? You have to identify what stresses you, what triggers you in any of the various facets of what I told you, coping with stress. Economically, what stresses you? If it's traffic, write it down. Please, you can put it in the box. What stresses you economically? Is it Buhari government? Is it Tinubu? What stresses you economically? What stresses you physically? What stresses you emotionally? You must find your trigger and your stressor so you can know how to handle them. Unfortunately, for some women, what stresses them is even their husband and their children, and they see them every day. And imagine you are seeing them every day, they are the ones stressing you. So you must now learn how to cope and how to understand, oh, what are my triggers? Am I too negative? Maybe it's my thought process. Maybe I need to watch my diet. So we're starting with diet because we're actually what we eat. And there are many things we eat that can affect our gut, that's our normal microbiome in the intestine. And this can actually have a role to play in the chemicals secreted into our brain. So eating healthy, involves the norm that we all know. Taking water regularly, taking your lots of fruits and vegetables, cutting down on carbohydrates and sugars, reducing bad fat and oil, taking healthy fat and oil. It's very simple. It's ownership. You just find what goes well with your system. And why do we say you should eat normally? Because if you take a lot of cholesterol from the burgers, from so much sugars, you increase the bad hormone called cortisol in your body, and these are stress hormones. So it's not going to be unusual if you're always stressed because you're not even eating properly in the first place. And that's why I'm starting from diet to educate us. Drinking water properly, sleeping properly, taking a walk, exercising, those things cannot be overemphasized. Rest in taking care of your mental health because they play a huge role in the chemicals, the healthy chemicals that can be formed to help your body maintain a healthy mental state. What are the good hormones in our body that can actually be produced from eating healthy and from, things that we do when I get to coping strategies? The good hormones are like your oxytocin, your dopamine. I will still talk about coping strategies and how you also get these hormones from your coping strategy. Your oxytocin, your dopamine, your endorphins. These hormones are very important to maintain a healthy mental state on a daily basis. And from eating right, you can actually encourage a lot of these to be produced. The bad hormones from your diet can be your excessive adrenaline and excessive cortisol from eating too much fatty food, your cholesterol intake. So that's why we must watch our diet because we cannot go anywhere without proper diet, proper rest, proper exercise. So going now into, because I want to just calm down before the coping strategies to talk about anxiety and depression because there are things that affect women more. So anxiety is a state of excessive worrisome thoughts that you cannot actually, you can't do without. They are like, it's in a continuous state in the heart or in the mind where you don't even, it's like the person's default to be excessive worry. So in such a state, we can call that generalized anxiety, where the person just knows that they are always worried. Or there's another one where the person is always fearful, maybe fear of heights, fear of insects, fear of animals. We call those ones phobias. They're also part of anxiety. We also have panic attacks, where people can, due to bad experiences, maybe rape, armed robbers came to people's house, experiences that would, immediately you recall, the person begins to have all the symptoms of anxiety, excess worry, heart beating fast, sweating. And some women even have some of these symptoms from experiences. They have bad experiences around childbirth, around their first sexual experience, around so many things can make women have these panic attacks, which is also a form of anxiety. So these things affect women more because our hormones predispose us to anxiety. Depression, we know that that is a state of extreme sadness. Extreme sadness that in the morning, in the afternoon, even when we come and play with the person is not even still happy. And that's where it is a state of, when we say the brain It's just the way people have hypertension, diabetes, stroke, cancer. Mental health is an illness of the brain. And so we must know that, as I talked about chemicals that are good for the body, when people have mental health, there's already what? A dip. Either some chemicals that are good have gone so low because our body and mind works together, or either some chemicals are too excess in form of psychosis. So when we see people come to us, because all of us on this platform, we're ambassadors, we must know that. We must know we're ambassadors, because that's why in this, small educational series we're having through Grayz Consult, we must take something away. We must educate each other, even in the question when we begin to interact. So going into what are the ways we can cope, because we must actually cope every day with the various stresses that may affect us on a daily basis. Coping strategies is number one. I've told you, you must first identify your stressors and your triggers. You must never ever be not self-aware. You must be self-aware. Know yourself. Know yourself. What triggers me? Is it the way people talk to me? Is it the way, what triggers me? Is it the traffic? What triggers me? Am I on my period? What's triggering this anger? You must know what is triggering any negative emotions in you. You must be able to question it so that you are able to help yourself, because you must take ownership of your mental health. So what are the ways we can cope? The first thing we must know is that coping strategies are very simple. That's what we must know. It's just the way it's simple for you to drive your car to work, for you to press your phone, for you to take a picture. They are simple. It just takes practice for you to improve on your mental health. Most of us, skill plus practice is equals to improvement. So getting the skill is from knowledge, which we are doing. Practice is okay. I've identified my trigger. They told me to identify my trigger. I've identified, how to eat properly. So how do I now practice to make sure I improve on my mental health? That is just it. It's just the way every one of us on this platform, we have various skills. Some of us are IT gurus, some of us are business gurus, finance gurus, and medical gurus, pharmacists, different specialty. You have the skill and you practice them. That's why you're improving. That's the same thing with your health, physical, mental, economic, anyone. You get the skills through knowledge, then you practice and you improve. So the first coping strategy is for us to understand what we call mindfulness or meditation. So we must know that the practice of mindfulness, you can do it any time of the day. It's a coping strategy we must all know and use. Mindfulness is, I'm with you now. I close my eyes and I take myself to a memory I enjoyed. Maybe it was last Christmas. Last New Year, I was at Landmark Beach with my family. I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed myself by the pool. You may be thinking, you may be talking to yourself. As I'm talking to you about this, my experience, I am happy. I am releasing happy hormones. In short, as I'm talking to you, I'm feeling so happy and relaxed. I was indoor. I was in a very lovely accommodation in the Landmark Hotel. I had a good time by the beach. I rested. I really enjoyed myself. That's called meditation and mindfulness. So I'm in traffic. I'm not enjoying the traffic. And it's already triggering me. So I just go straight into mindfulness. Ah, on Friday, I had a good time with my friends. We went to a lovely party. Oh, let me look for someone's name here. See the way Temi was laughing at that party. I just go into something that would trigger the happy hormones in me. And what are these happy hormones? I mentioned some endorphins, oxytocin. Those are happy hormones. We must release dopamine. So that's a coping strategy. Some people use spirituality as a form of mindfulness, spiritual meditation. Mindfulness practice can be every single day and moment. It releases endorphins. Endorphins, they come out of your body like the brain is releasing it. Mindfulness practice, it's something that you can do every single day. Every single moment, the moment that you are getting stressed, you can just go straight into mindfulness. Whether it's the spiritual teaching and the Holy Spirit, whether you're Christian or Muslim, the Holy Spirit or God or Allah, reminding you about your scripture meditation and it makes you happy. Whether it is the moment, like me by my own beach, relaxation, go to mindfulness. Whether it's your graduation, whether it's the day you became, the day you got an award, the joy on your face, whether it's your wedding day, whether it can be a recent event, it can be a past event, it can be a spiritual exercise. Mindfulness practice, you must do it every day. What's the goal? To release endorphins in your body, in your brain. It can help you overcome anxiety. It can help you overcome worries. I'll still tell you some things on how to help your worries, but we must practice mindfulness daily to improve on our mental health. Skill plus practice is equals to improvement. Another thing we must do is relaxation. Apart from your rest, you must try to sleep. Try to sleep. Even when you are not able to sleep due to your goals, you must write it. Yeah, I'm owing myself 5 hours of sleep. You write it down so that you can take it. Don't cheat yourself so much. If you know that during the week you've stressed, or you're in traffic, or things that you don't like, write it down so that you know you're owing yourself. Always put yourself at the forefront when it comes to your mental health. That's the way you protect your mental health. You put yourself at the forefront. So relaxation techniques are very important to help to prevent, anxiety, depression, to help to cope with stress. And what are relaxation techniques? You sit down, you can close your eyes, you can be on your chair at work, and we call them relaxation breathing techniques. These are simple things, as I said, but most of us, we don't do it. What is relaxation breathing techniques? I close my eyes, or I may not close my eyes, but I'm sitting down upright on my chair in my office, put my hands on my laps, put my legs on the floor, make sure my legs are relaxed on the floor. And I take through contraction and relaxation of my diaphragm muscles. The diaphragm muscle is the one separating your chest from your abdomen. You take deep breaths, contracting your diaphragm muscles, and you take deep breaths out. The breathing exercise helps you to relax, helps to reduce worrisome thoughts, helps to reduce anxious thoughts, helps you to reduce anything that you need to make a decision and probably you need to think. So that's what the breathing exercise does. You can breathe in, count to 4, hold your breath while counting to 4, breathe out. Some people also use it in anger management. We must know that some bad coping strategies is anger outburst. Some bad coping strategies anger outburst, and this can actually release more adrenaline that will damage your body and your mind. So coping strategies in life, we must know when we're using bad coping strategies, and we must know when we're using good coping strategies. Bad coping strategies lead to more stress in the body, anger, shouting, thinking, they don't solve the problem. Another thing for people that are really anxious is what we call origami. That means like folding papers, it helps to put your concentration in one place. It's like an art technique. There's a new way we mix art and mental health now to help people, feel a sense of purpose, to help with their concentration and attention. So if you are someone that you can use origami, just take a paper. You can even learn it online, how to make flowers with paper, how to make a box with paper. It can help your concentration and attention. It can help you to manage anxiety. Just take colored papers, cardboards, watch it online, origami art technique. You'll be amazed at what you can create and how you can help your concentration and attention. Art will help you in managing anxiety. So you can put that down, origami art techniques. So you can actually read it up, learn how to do it, teach somebody that is anxious. It can be at work, even when you have a get together with your friends. Oh, let's do some art. You guys should do flowers, put it in a pot, create a flower vase with papers, create flowers with papers, do something. It helps you to see, relax your mind, a sense of purpose. It helps you to concentrate. So people that are anxious, they can see that, oh, But when people are anxious, they can't concentrate, they can't have attention. But when they see what they create in origami, the anxious person now knows that, oh, so I can actually concentrate, putting the thoughts and the worries away. So I'll quickly go through ways that, we can manage negative thoughts, because many people that end up having depression, anxiety, we have negative thoughts. The truth is that most negative thoughts are not true. They never come to pass. They are not facts. But unfortunately, most of us, we think and overthink it and overthink it. So managing negative thoughts, we have to get to a stage where you're able to question the thoughts, question that negative thought that you're having. Some people don't, which day will I marry? Will I have a husband like this? Hey, pressure, anxiety. I have different type of clients. The one that let me go to my clients. Let me just but I've taught them how to manage negative thoughts because they are never true. So you have to, when you have negative thoughts, the first thing is you put it down. You can write it down so that you're not carrying it in your mind everywhere. When you now write it down, the next thing you do is to actually question it, challenge the thought. You catch it by writing it down. When will I marry? When will I travel out? The people that want to travel out. When will I what else? When will I buy Lamborghini? When will I buy a house in Nigeria? All your negative thoughts, write it, then challenge it. Okay, why do I think I will not fulfill these things? Some people they just think that they are going to die. How you be thinking that you're going to die when you've not fulfilled your purpose in this life? Why? You understand? Some people, those negative thoughts can come in different ways, and some of them are automatic. So we're not even going to say, that's why I said our genetics, our environment, they shape us. There's something we call nature and nurture. Nature is the genetics we are born with from our parents. Nurture is the environment, our background, our schooling, our neighborhood. Those things shape, our mental health, the way we think, our experiences in life. So some of us have even developed automatic negative thinking from our various nurture experiences in life. So some of us are the chief negative thinker in this world. In short, some people don't even know they have what we call negative bias. They love you, they're your friends, but they will never celebrate with you. You need to identify such people and you don't blame them. They are not witches, they are not bad people. When you are posting your successes, they will not identify it. But just post something is wrong with you or this. They want to know the bad events in your life. And that bad events they want to know in your life, they just want to know, they want to believe that can good things really be happening to this person back to back? Can't bad things happen? So they are the first that would even ask you. And those people are people that they also have a problem. We call these people that have negative you, their friend. Okay. All right. So I had to mute. Sorry. So some of us must understand that when we have negative thoughts or we recognize it in people, if you know people with negative bias, just know they have a problem and don't try to judge them. But if you have negative thoughts, please challenge it, catch it, challenge it, and try to reframe it. Reframe it after asking questions and putting the fact. Is it really true I cannot get married in life? Does it, you question it well. For example, let's say I'm worried. I suddenly become worried, or I suddenly start thinking negative. I ask myself, what's triggering this negative thought? So I use myself as an example so that, you don't think people in mental health spaces don't have problems. So recently I was actually sick and I was actually thinking that, hey, God, oh, so is this how I'm going to be sick and die? Negative thoughts, isn't it? You think maybe I don't have negative thoughts. I have negative thoughts too. And I had to ask myself, wait, why are you thinking of death? Why are you thinking of bad thing? What's wrong with you? Are you that sick? And I found out that the reason that I was thinking that way was because in the past, when I am sick, all my friends are around me. When I mean all my friends are at my house, at my door. They are all, if they are not bringing food and fruit, they are gisting with me. And I also like social connectedness. That is what makes me happy. So I had to recognize that that was what I was missing, that I was now becoming sad and thought that, okay, my own was over. So I had to really recognize it and reframe it. And I had to do what? Find a support system fast by talking to one or two people that this is where I was feeling. Because I'm also human. And guess what? I was sick that time. So it's very important that we must know our triggers. We must question those negative thoughts, reframe them in time. Another thing we must know in coping is that we need support systems. Please never do life alone. Never do life alone. Build your network, please. If it's not easy to build network, just keep hoping that you'll find the right, people in your space soon. Because we need people. We can't do life alone. You need the right people to talk to. You need the right people to be there for you. So social connectedness, we can thank God for the internet age, but at the same time, that is not like physical. You need real people. So please, it's important we have the right support. It may not be easy to have it, but we need to know it is important. Another way to cope is music. Music releases a lot of dopamine, which helps. Dopamine, people get high. So, I've mentioned one bad coping strategy. Who can remember the bad coping strategy I mentioned? Who can remember? Let me even check the question and answer box. People that are answering, maybe the people answering question will win a prize. We're giving free ebook to people answering questions. Who can remember I'm giving 2 free ebooks to people that answer questions. Who can remember the first bad coping
You're breaking.
free ebook to go answers. I mentioned it to this talk
Hello, doctor.
that
Can you hear me?
there's a
We
bad
can't hear you
coping
clearly.
strategy that will release adrenaline. Who can remember? Who is following us? Anybody that answers will take the 2 free. Oh, okay, sorry. Who
Okay, I
can
think
remember the
get
bad
them.
coping strategy I mentioned? You're going to get 2 free ebooks if you answer that question. But,
So people
yes,
joined
it's
in
like,
later, so I'm not sure.
okay.
Yeah.
And your line is breaking. So.
Okay, can anybody remember the bad coping strategy I mentioned? I'm going to give 2 free ebooks to whoever answers the question. The bad coping strategy, I mentioned one before.
I think you mentioned one around anger.
Okay, thank you. But you cannot be the one answering the question. You're the owner of the show. Anyway, it's anger. Yes, I mentioned anger. Okay, who can remember the code for a definition of mental health I mentioned? The code. Because we can't give only Grayz 2 free ebooks. We have to give other people. I mentioned the code though.
Let me give them it. Check the chat box.
Okay. You start from C. And who can remember the good hormones in the body that you must release? I didn't mention one good hormone that you must release from the
Dopamine?
mind. Dopamine is one good. Because been noting the people that are collecting free book. Who can remember another one?
Oxytocin.
Oxytocin. Okay. All right.
Is it endorphin or
Oxytocin,
something?
endorphin.
Endorphins. Okay. So we have some winners. All right. Good. So people
Oxytocin
are
and
following.
endorphin.
So yeah, thank you. Yeah. So we are
Oxytocin and
giving.
endorphin.
Yeah, we heard you. We're giving free ebooks to those that have been able to answer the questions. So bad coping strategies also involve things like what we call smoking and taking alcohol. That's where some people actually cope, but it's maladaptive because they use it to reduce the anxiety, the worries. They use it to cope with the stress they may be having. But it's maladaptive because it damages the body the more. And it gives a false sense of dopamine release. Like cannabis, people that smoke marijuana, it releases dopamine. It makes them feel high, which music will also release. But the problem with cannabis is that it goes down immediately. They go back. they go back and it's damaging the body. So most people now become addicts or dependent on it. So that's where we must understand that even people that smoke, they use it as a maladaptive way of coping with stress. So you must find good coping strategies. And that's why I said mindfulness, relaxation techniques. I mentioned origami art. Laughter is also part of what release endorphins. So we must try and reduce anger. It's not easy to be laughing like you cannot wake up and be laughing like a mad person now. They will say, not mad in the sense. They will say, what's wrong with you? But you must look for opportunities to laugh, whether it's your comedy at the end of a day's work and you need to relax. You can use your comedy. Josh Too Funny, Brother Shaggy, all those people that I don't know where they are from when they are doing their skits. But you will just make sure that you can laugh every day to release endorphins. Some people can laugh anyhow. They use it to release endorphins. They are talking to you, they are laughing. You think that they are not normal, but they know the secret of releasing endorphin. So that's why they are laughing. But you won't know that they are trying to help their own mental health. So they'll be laughing, they'll be smiling. Somebody has probably taught them the effect it has on the brain and the body. Another thing we must know is we must learn that there is no health without mental health. That one you must know, because every day your mental health is a journey and it is not a destination. So the fact you are okay this week, this year, this month, you are able to cope, you must keep improving. You must keep investing in your mental health. There are many pillars of your mental health. There's your what? Emotional, intellectual, psychological, physical. Mental health pillars are many. That's why people can break down at any. Some can fail an exam and become depressed. So that's why you must improve on your mental health every single day. Every day. If it's just mindfulness, meditation, prayers, some people do that, music. If it is relaxation techniques, if it is the laughter, if it is your diet. Okay, this week, no sugar. I'm going to focus on water therapy and lime, fruit infusion. You do things that will improve your gut microbiome. And we should never forget, in conclusion, because I need us to, go into question and answer, talk about other things. We should never forget that you must take ownership of your mental health. You must ensure that you as an individual, you identify what are my triggers, what are my stressors, emotionally, physically. You must identify those things. Because if you're not self-aware, then you don't know where to improve upon. And you must ensure, if you don't take anything away from today, you must ensure that you know how to improve your mental health and do some practices that will help you to release the positive, the good hormones in your body. So last but not the least, I would like to touch some things when it comes to work and how to, what we call problem-solving skills. And they're also part of the coping strategies, problem-solving skills and ventilation techniques. Ventilation techniques is just like the breathing techniques, breathing exercises, and also talking. Ventilation techniques like talking to the right people, be able to identify where the problem is. For example, if you have a problem at work, because work stress can lead to many things, anxiety, hypertension. Anxiety and hypertension are interrelated. I'm afraid of my boss. I begin to get anxious. I develop hypertension. So I've seen many people that have developed problems from work. So we must be able to know these two last strategies I'm able to talk about, so you can know how to navigate and take life easy. Problem solving skills is simply a way of solving problems. Maybe you have a goal at work you need to meet. You have things that have to do with your work that you're trying to achieve and is not coming through, or your course, or your professional exams or anything. Problem solving skills is you identify the problem. You either use techniques of the past, maybe the way you passed your exams in the past, the way you handled a difficult boss in the past. You either use that to solve this particular problem by using, recapping what you did then, or you try and talk to somebody about the problem and look for new techniques to solve the problem. And that's why you don't do life alone. Problem solving skills, you must involve people. You must try and, talk about it in ventilation. Ventilation is simply that, okay, there's a problem. Let's say there's a sack at work. You've tried to discuss it with everybody. Why am I being sacked? Or there's a promotion, you were not promoted, or you are being, victimized. those things that can affect your mental health at work. So you can talk, ventilation is you talk about it. You try to approach the boss, she's shouting at you, she's not listening, or he's shouting at you. You try to talk to your colleagues, you try to gather your facts. Then nobody's listening, then you see who you can talk to, which other person at work can listen to you. And then you find the good. Yes, it's a bad occurrence, but you also find the good after you've, talked about it, find out what went wrong, and you find the good in the bad. That means you try and reframe. It's just like reframing negative thought that, okay, a good thing can come out of this, no matter how bad it seems. What am I supposed to learn? What's the positive that can come out of this? Oh, I could get another job. I'm educated. I have my certificates. Oh, I could actually start up a business. Oh, I could actually, I could look at my skills and see what skill set I can also develop. I could diversify. So that's like identifying the good after ventilation. So coping strategies are, multivaried. You can use it in different contexts, at work, in marriage, different ways you can use them. But the most important thing is the ones you apply to yourself daily so that you build your mental health to a state that you don't break down. We can develop poor mental health, but we have to try to stay healthy so that we don't develop a mental ill health that can make us lose part of our productivity. That means the person now, you're not able to cope with the stress of life again. I'm just tired of this world. In short, it's time to die. I want to go home. Some people say they want to die, suicide. And it can happen to anybody. A CEO loses everything to fire. He can become depressed and commit suicide. So it can happen to anybody. And that's why I said in protecting your mental health, you must improve on it daily. Because you don't even know, is that improvement like shock therapy? You don't know what will happen that can shake you and lead to mental ill health. But it's the ability for you to have improved on yourself, improved on, your mental health that is able to help you pull through when there's a big shake, something that really, may shake the pillar of your mental health. And that's why, as I said, even me as a therapist, as a, mental health physician, I've been shaking in the most recent past. So it's not as if it can happen to anybody. I had a consultant, a professor that lost the husband and told me one day that she was crying. And I'm like, you're the one, we don't finish clinic now. You're not the one that was. And that was I understood that everyone, even the person treating you, they all have problems. And they're also trying to cope. I've seen someone call me about domestic violence before. And, I'm like, I had to start therapy because that person could not cope at that point in time. And these are people, you are looking up to. You think everything is okay with them, but they are also struggling in their own different ways. And that's why I keep telling everybody that we are all humans in those little things we do in our workplace, the little, you're able to. We can show in our family life to our spouse, we can show in our workplace, we can show amongst our friends, in our neighborhood. Those are basic things that would help our mental health. So I hope we've been able to get something from this expose. I will stop here and allow the host to take over. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Wow, I've been I've really learned a lot. My notes here that I'm using to write is filled with so many points. And I'm glad that we can always go back to this and watch to learn all of what you've shared with us. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to ask few questions. I usually want this to run for about an hour, but we are almost done. But I'll just quickly ask a few questions. One is with respect to the workplace. Oftentimes we hear what we as individuals are to do with respect to, our mental health, coping, and all of those things. But people don't really talk so much about what employers should do. So I want to ask, and I would like you to shed light around this. What should employers do to ensure that their workplace, their environment is, one that facilitates and encourage good mental health, growth in mental health. So it's not that employers think it's just about paying salaries alone. They also have a responsibility with respect to, ensuring their employees have a good mental health. So please shed some light on what employers can also do.
Thank you. So the first thing I want us to know is that various workplaces have various work cultures. And based on these work cultures, it has a lot of role to play in the part of the management and how they're able to accept information or suggestions that would help the employees. There's something many organizations are doing now. They call it Employee Assistance Program, where they bring in counselors because they have been able to understand just after COVID. COVID brought a lot of attention to mental health. So they've been able to understand that, oh, people are more productive if they are mentally stable. They've been able to bring counseling, approaches to workplace through the human resource. Some already even have some, mental health physicians to help them build organizational policies to ensure that employees are able to, be productive by having sound mental health. And in case they have any problems, they can actually access care immediately, even prior to, so they don't become, ill in case they have poor mental health. But the employer's role is based on the employer's knowledge or exposure and the workplace culture. In this new generation, there's something we call the AGILE mode of work, where workplace is not more traditional. It is more about more productive. Even your CEO is happy that you guys are bringing up the ideas. There's no like this structured way where they begin to wait for, they'll give you words to do, bam, you go and do it, go and report to boss to sign that you've done it. It's so traditional. So the new generation, the agile way of working, or I don't know how to pronounce that. I used to call it agile, but
Agile.
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 That's why I know you people will correct me. The agile way of working, it's something that is so key. So if you have an employee, the new generation people that understand it, they are very quick to understand. Sorry, an employer that's embracing that is very quick to understand the role of the mental stability of his staff in maximum productivity. And is very quick to engage a workplace culture that will ensure, and you see those kind of employees, they're always happy to go to work. They're always ready to impute because there's happiness at work. There's dignity, there's appreciation of their work. So this conversation around what employers should do, it's a culture of what they know. If they don't know it, if the workplace culture is so traditional, it's difficult to even practice it or even engage it in the organizational policy. And that's why the least they can embrace is still the employee assistance program, where most of them bring in counselors, because post-COVID and pre-COVID, it was a necessity most of them required. But those that are really embracing real mental health are bringing exercise, making sure employees are healthy, bringing in daily talks on nutrition, bi-monthly talks on nutrition for employees. Those are the ones that they are probably very knowledgeable about the need for the employees to be very productive and ways the employees can be productive. So an employer, when it comes to this conversation, which I've had in the past, is based on mental health, is based on an experience of the employer. I've seen somebody in, I think it was in, I don't know if it was in the petroleum industry. I went for a presentation. It was the CEO that asked for a mental health physician to come and present. And guess what? He had a sister that was suffering from depression. So he was able to understand mental health and how important it is based on his experience with his sister. So that's a kind of employer that may, embrace a mental health conversation a lot and, practices around the organization. Or a CEO that probably is open-minded, or a CEO that is practicing the agile, the young generation practicing the agile approach. So employers actually have a role to play, but it also depends on the knowledge they are exposed to, who is telling them what is necessary. If it is not true, if the workplace is not true traditional, and the culture of the workplace is very, okay, not the very traditional ways of, reducing people into objects or numbers. So it's very important that, when we have an opportunity, we in the mental health, industry, in advocacy, in we try to really, really talk about it a lot. so that people can actually learn. And most employees, when most employers, when they get this access, when they are hearing it, they'll be able to know that, oh, it's important, and somebody in their network can sell it to them. So if, for example, I'm on a board or friends with, let's say, Aliko Dangote, and I tell him that, boss, okay, we need this thing for people to be more productive, the opportunity is because I'm on the board, or I'm opportune to be on the management level where I can bring it in a discussion to make sure that the overall boss buys the idea and he can just sign it into being, whether he's knowledgeable or not. But if we are not on that board and you are talking from the under, it depends on if the person at the top even buys your idea. So it's a very dicey one, but we are really hoping with conversations like this, people will come on, find this conversation online. They can actually, over time, mental health in the workplace can become a norm where people can have access to even mental health physicians privately. People can, because in the workplace, many people have mental illness. They can't even tell their boss, I'm going for my clinic, because of the stigmatization when it comes to mental illness. So they can't even tell their boss, and this is not nice. It's just like stigmatizing somebody because the person has HIV/AIDS. The person should not be able to work. So most people are even ashamed because of the conversations around mental health in the workplace. There's a lot of stigmatization. But with time, if there's understanding, human rights are being employed in the workplace, the boss understands the role of human dignity and all those things that have to do with human rights. The 1948, law, it's 1948, most people are not even practicing it. We're able to know that, oh, somebody can tell the boss, oh, boss, please, I need to be at my clinic on the 25th of July. I'm managing depression. I need to see my physician. It is a normal conversation. It's not like they'll start gossiping about you. It's managing depression. It's not like managing hypertension. It's a person living with depression. It's not a stigma. But we hope that with time, all these things will change as the generation,
Yeah.
more talks come around it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would have loved to ask the question around, coping strategies for young professionals in the workplace, but I think you've touched on that a lot around the various coping strategies. So the last question from me would be with respect to work-life balance versus work-life integration. I think it was, post-COVID that we began to hear more around work-life integration, because people were working remotely, and even now working remotely is like the norm. So you see, like, your professional life is mixed with your personal life. So I just want to know your thoughts around that, the work-life balance versus work-life integration. What are your thoughts? Is it preferable to separate both, let your professional life stay at work, and my personal life, I do my personal life? When it's time for work, we go back to work? Or we can adopt strategies to to do both simultaneously and peacefully. Maybe like at work, you can still probably have some spare time to have conversations with your family, friends, and it's like your professional life and your personal life, they are, you kind of like manage both simultaneously. What are your thoughts around that?
Thank you. So most times the talk around work-life balance or work-life integration when it comes to women, because they are the ones that manage the home, the children more, than the men. So in post-COVID, it shifted through, as you said, from work-life balance to work-life integration, because we found out that we cannot have the balance. The balance was almost impossible for many women. So we had to do the work-life integration. Work-life integration is ensuring that you carry the two pari passu alongside each other, and also employ a lot of support systems. You don't abandon one for the other. You try and talk about it, look for support, and ensure that you're carrying the two together. You don't throw away one for the other at any point in time. So you have to be at work, but you have made arrangements with trusted, people, maybe a nanny, your sibling, someone that's going to pick the kids. You've spoken with the kids prior to, entering another meeting. You've arranged for who is going to do their own work. You're even talking to them on virtual call before you enter another meeting. So you're integrating everything in a way that you are not abandoning one for the other. You are able to integrate. You can order your soup. Let's say somebody that makes soup. Different women and their professional lives and how they can not balance, integrate it. So you can order soup, talk to your partner, oh, we're going to take this. You know, you don't have to kill yourself as a woman because you are trying to run a home and run a career. You have to make sure you can integrate them. Okay, this weekend, obviously I cannot cook. Can we order soup? Can we, walk along that way? Can we, get a chef to do some things for the weekend for us and store it in the freezer? Can the kids go to grandma's place? Can the kids be spoken to virtually all the time? Can my partner babysit at a point in time? You have to integrate it in a way that one is not suffering for the other, because those are things that will make you fulfilled. Those are things that makes you happy. Those are things that may bring happy hormone. Oh, my children, they are healthy, they are both emotionally and physically. Because I know most women, if their children are sick or their children are not functioning well, they can't even focus well at work. So that's why it's important they integrate the two so that there's no anxiety at any point in time. And then you embrace a lot of support system. So I will allow us, read around it. There are many resources on the internet about work-life integration for women so that we can be able to have more knowledge from thought leaders, more knowledge from thought leaders in that field, in that, that have written about it so that we can learn from them about the work-life integration. So that's what I'll say.
All right. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing all of this with us. I don't know if anyone amongst our participants today, does anyone have any questions before we call it a day for Dr. T? Any question in the house? Any question? Do you want to speak? You're muted, Rama. Are you speaking?
In fact, a lot of questions are running through my head, and I know the moment the question pops up, and I'm like, she has already said what you're supposed to do, at least to manage, because the fact remains that all this will come up, definitely, but it's just for us to manage it. Because now you ask the question, and she's like, okay, if someone is so busy, you can ask someone to pick the person up, maybe your children, maybe your sister. And now I'm now thinking, for someone like me, I'm always scared to leave my children with people because of child molestation and all that. I don't trust anybody. So, or for someone that does not even have the resources to pay someone to take care of that, how do you do it? And then you are aspiring to do the best for yourself, like you want to build your career, and now the kids are there. How do you want to do? All of this, it's a lot. Trust me, not like you said, you as a person, you're also trying to manage yourself. That's why the fact that you're trying to educate people to do better with their mental health. You still have your own side that you're also trying to. Nobody's perfect. You understand? I'm like, how do we even go about all of this? A lot of things are around us that is making us like that is pulling strings. That's the word, pulling strings. And how do someone manage that kind of situation? How?
Okay, so yeah, I will just give my own input, because the truth is that the situations are peculiar to people based on their location. And also because if you're in Canada or the US or the United Kingdom, you can't have as much support system as if you're in Nigeria. Do you understand? So if you are abroad, the support system thing I'm talking about is even totally different, because in that case, you are juggling a lot and you're trying to also find your balance. Or like in Nigeria, where yes, some people may have, the means to employ a nanny from a maybe good organization, put cameras in place. It's never easy, actually. I'm currently not in Nigeria, but when I was in Nigeria, I juggled, nannies, house helps, running back home to make sure that, I can monitor, what is happening around my child and my home. But at the same time, also trying to put my best in my profession. So it had a lot of, juggling. But sometimes I had to give up the reality that I can't be everywhere. So I have to trust the instinct, maybe inform like two people. So I'm telling the nanny do this, but I'm also telling a neighbor nearby, please, can you help me observe what is happening in my house while I'm not around? So that's like in Nigeria. But in the developed world, when you maybe relocate or you go on vacation or you are away for a while, it's totally different. It has to do with you and your partner reaching an agreement. You're looking for a job that, can, give you some mental balance, because in different phases and depending on the woman, I've tried to ask this question in many platforms where, older women are speaking. I always ask them, did you have a break in your career? I've seen some that had a break in their career because they were raising kids. They were abroad. It was not easy. They were doing some jobs that, were not maybe in keeping with what they could do in their potential, but they just needed to step down. Then over time, when the kids were maybe like between 8 and 10 or going into the secondary school, they stepped up back. There were some that were in Nigeria. They had all the support system from family, so they never had a break in their career. So every step of the way, that's why you must talk, and you must, like the way you're asking question now, you must be able to find out what works for you. If, for example, you are depending on your kind of job, you need to. It's okay, you can talk. You need to.
Sorry, I didn't know my mic, the sound
Oh,
from
it's
my background. So I
It's okay.
apologize. I just
okay.
supposed to
Yeah.
that.
You need to understand your fears. What are my fears? Molestation, which is very true. In the recent 2 weeks, I got a call from a friend that told me that her house help 2 years ago had molested her son. And she was calling me because she needed to know what to do, because the son is just telling her. So, 2 years ago. So that's like, I was not trying to explain to her that this child is already damaged subconsciously, emotionally, because it's like an injury, just the way you have a physical injury on your body. Emotional injury on that child is deep. So we need to heal the child, very, very well. So I had to start telling her what to do, because 2 years ago, it was bad. And depending on the age of the child, so your concerns are valid. And that's why you will not determine what you want to do at each phase. You pray about the ones you cannot do, because you cannot be everywhere. You're not God. We don't even know what's happening in school. I've seen a case where the children were even being sodomy. The teacher was sleeping with the young boys, 5 and 7, through their anus in school. The boys were going home to sleep with their sister that is 3 years old. So I've seen different cases, different scenarios. So your concerns are valid, very valid, Ramat. And that's why sometimes, based on what is important to the women, some women, their mind, that's why we're different in our nature and nurture. Some women, their mind cannot carry it. Please, let me just stay at home with my children. Let me do work from home, do IT, digital health, digital whatever, and be able to watch them to a face and hope that I can train them, teach them. Some people put cameras, put every measure. Sometimes even the family members may even be the one molesting the child. So there's no one way that is correct. You may be saying that you left your child with a brother, a sister, an uncle. They may be the ones molesting this child. So it's very dicey. I remember then when I got a new job, I started taking my maid and my child, who was less than 2, to work, because I couldn't leave him with the maid. The maid is new. So we all go to work together and we come back together, because I was actually like, I can't leave, So the dynamics for different women at different points in time is different. Do you understand? Abroad, you may need to take shifts that are in keeping with when your partner, because it's only both of you that can really take care of your child. I remember yesterday, I'm actually in the UK, and my husband told me that while he was coming back from work or something, or he went to buy something, that he met a colleague standing at the bus stop with his 5-year-old daughter, begging him that, can you hold my daughter? The struggle here is that you don't even have anybody to hold. That my husband should hold his daughter while his wife finishes from work, because he has to go to Birmingham urgently to catch the train. And my husband was confused. How will you give me your daughter? You don't even know me. We just met at work, and you just give me your daughter. Because you can imagine the tension in that guy's head. The wife is at work. So I was trying to tell my husband that the family dynamics there may be very dicey. Because in my own family dynamics, we plan it in a way that at every point in time, there's somebody available for the child. Do you understand? And I'm able to tell my employers directly that I have a toddler and the childcare is important. If you don't want me to have issue with the police or with social security, with social care, all those people that they like to come and gomo, please don't stress me. Work is work, but I have to have family duties. And most of them understand. Once I mention childcare, they're like, oh, okay, it's all right. Because they know it is very important. And me, I can send email. So I will write, my mail can be from, in short, 2,000 words, because I'm explaining one thing. So Communication is key with your partner, with yourself, in making these decisions with your employers, to know what works for you. Do you understand? Don't let it become a form of anxiety. And also, don't be too afraid, because children will grow, yes. Nature versus nurture. We only pray that they don't have bad experiences that will damage them. So you cannot be too careful. Sometimes I've seen a woman that has done everything to protect her child. She came crying and said, on vacation, I go out with my children. I take care of children. How did my son become so bad that he started smoking and became a drug addict? She's a director of education in Ministry of Education. She was crying because her son had become a drug addict, and she could not believe he had even started smoking at 16 when she thought she was parenting properly, because she was a director of education, a trained teacher. So she could not understand what went wrong, where her son went wrong. And that's why I tried to make her understand that we cannot be too perfect as parents, because these children have their minds. They're also growing. They're also seeing things on the internet. They're seeing things from people. So you can only keep communicating with them as the time goes. You keep praying and hoping and doing your best. Because some women give up their all, say they are not going to do anything because they're raising children, and they have regrets later that they never achieved their potential. So you need to balance this thing. We can talk more about it later, but you need to really look at yourself on the inside, be self-aware, find your balance, or how you can integrate your childcare with your profession, so that you don't have regrets in the future, and at the same time you don't have any regrets now that you're not putting in your best. So it's a mind game for you, but we can talk later. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. T. So I think for any other person, if you have any other questions, or if you like to engage with Dr. T directly after now, please just reach out to me. Our email address is grayzconsult at outlook.com or grayzconsult@gmail.com. Please make sure reach out. And for those that want the ebook, no worries.
You get it
we'll,
soon.
we'll ensure to share it with you. Thank you so much once again, Dr. T, for joining us. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
And to everyone that has joined us today, I want to say thank you for joining us, and do enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for that. It's a good one.
Yeah, thank you.